Hello, gladiators, and welcome back to another episode of the life and suffering of Sir Brante. Previously, we lost all reputation, we lost all connection with our brother Stefan, we've lost all family unity, and it even got to a point where Nathan decided to take one of his own lives to try and find any way, any meaning in his life. With that brush of death, he seems He seems to have come back a changed man. Let's hope this peace stays with him. We were already exhausted. That did nothing. A storm on the horizon. For over a year now, Anazat has been steadily simmering with unrest, like a soup pot over a well-stoked flame. Commoners flock to the squares in droves. The mobs grow bolder, demanding new freedoms and protection under the law. The last straw insurgents commit brazen acts, hoping to overthrow the authorities. The noble gentry insisted that every mob be dispersed by force. They are ready to fight for their ancient privilege, sword in hand. In spite of this enormous pressure, Overseer Gaius Tempest remains highly reluctant to allow any bloodshed. But the common people are already too desperate. Even the age-old fear of the nobility's might is barely enough to keep them in check. More and more people are rejecting the lots and converting to the new faith, not to mention other stranger, more esoteric teachings and beliefs. New secret societies and clandestine gatherings appear every day. Printed pamphlets litter the streets, yet no one is rushing to subdue the citizens or punish the city. For now. Father Leonard has transformed the Temple of the Silver Tree into a new believer stronghold. He is no longer afraid to break the ban on preaching the new faith. His sermons now openly challenge the old faith. It seems the Church of the Twins is unable to recognize its great mistake. The lots must be abandoned as relics of the past. Though Twins granted everyone the freedom to choose their own path in this world, I will not stop until this freedom is recognized throughout the Empire. The next Patriarch of Magra must be chosen by the parish, not the clergy. This is the will of the Twins, and it must be ours as well. Leonard intends to amend the old order of the Church and become Patriarch. His opponents, however, are beset by internal struggle and strife. The Inquisition is fighting a myriad of heresies, more of which appear every day. Not even the highest ranks of the faith are free from suspicion. The new faith, meanwhile, is steadily growing in numbers. People no longer fear being damned to the foot of the pillar for rejecting the divine design. The streets are restless and dangerous. Minds and souls are beset by confusion. The authorities argue and bicker among themselves. Conspiracies plague the city. Time marches on and the change is coming. It cannot be stopped. Can you find a way to guide it in the right direction? The weight of a new age now rests upon your shoulders. For over a year now, Anazat has been slowly simmering with unrest. The feud between the estates, between the old and the new, between the law of the Empire and noble traditions. Tensions are at an all-time high, waiting for the slightest spark to catch fire and burn. Even your family's affairs have been affected by the growing unrest. It is during these troubled times that the future of your family will be decided. Father shakes you awake early in the morning. He's excited, clutching a letter bearing the imperial seal of the Tempest dynasty. Wake up, son. Come to the sitting room. A letter has come from Overseer Gaius Tempest. He gingerly breaks the seal and unfolds the missive. To the Honorable Brante family, I, Gaius of the Tempest dynasty, Overseer of the province of Magra, have given due consideration to your petition to have your bloodline ennobled by the sword. You are expected in 1 week at Castle Lanieri, as are all petitioners for the sword, where you shall hear my decision firsthand. After finishing the letter, Father turns to you. He looks fatigued. Well, son, it's time for us to be honest with each other about our family. What do you have to say about this? What do we, the Brontes, stand after so many years? What hopes do we have for the future of this family? The past 7 years have been marked by many life-changing events. Oh, wow. The past 7 years have been marked by many life-changing events. The rare joys, the frequent fights, the arguments, and the attempts at peace, the losses. Sometimes you have managed to change their minds, and sometimes you have not. But your decisions have made you realize what matters most to you. The future of the Brante family must be decided here and now. You coldly point out that the family's chance for a hereditary title is long gone, and the family itself, it all but disintegrated years ago. You failed to quell the strife at home. You could not snuff the coals of enmity that slowly turned your family into disjointed clumps of ash. All attempts to put the family's affairs in order have led to naught. And now it is time to admit that the Brante family is no more. There is deep pain in your father's eyes as he meets your gaze, but he does not argue. Which is why you continue, it would only be reasonable to sever what remains of your family ties. It is for your own good. You have all been strangers for a long time. You may live under the same roof, but you are no family. It is time to end these frantic attempts to fix that which is already beyond repair. Nothing good will come of it. Man, I'm actually getting real sad about this now. Father is silent. A long moment passes before he speaks. As much as it saddens me to say this, you're right, son. We failed. I failed as the family patriarch, and I failed my lot. I was chasing after a lofty position and neglected all the troubles in our family. I tried to please everyone, and I let everyone down. All I can say is that your grandfather was right about everything. You put your hand on your father's shoulders. It's not his fault alone, you tell him. All of you made mistakes. You too bear a sizable share of the blame. But I am the patriarch, no matter what. I am responsible for this family. What a disgrace and embarrassment I am. Father hides his face in his hands. It takes him a while to stifle his silent sobs and muster enough strength to continue. But enough weakness. It is time to accept the inevitable. The family is gone. We must all seek our own fortunes. I will quit my post at the prefecture and leave Anasat. The city has grown far too unsettled as of late. But if any of you ever want to visit my home, my door will be open to you. You leave Father alone with his grief in the sitting room. There is nothing you can do to help him now. You begin to pack your things. It is time to move out of the house that stopped being your home long ago. You will rent a lodging for now, and then you will see what comes next. A carriage awaits you at the gate. You take one last look at your parents' house. The place that was your home and shelter for so many years. Your childhood games in the garden. Your loud, happy dinners. Your quiet conversations on the porch. The warm embrace of your family. It is time to leave it all behind. You offer your family no farewells as you depart. They are no longer a point of your life. From this day forward, you must fend for yourself. All of Anazat has been rocked by a gunpowder explosion. Its victims were Legion officers in charge of a punitive battalion. For some years now, they have been using force to collect the Archduke's tax from villages that refuse to pay. The common folk remember their cruelty well. Now the tables have turned. A tavern called the Three Filere, the favorite drinking hole of the Legion officers, was blown up by a huge charge of gunpowder. Everyone in the tavern was killed. A number of people living in nearby homes were also injured. The reborn officers reported that they were blown up by an ordinary lowborn girl. Before lowering her torch to the fuse, the girl cried out that now the nobles will pay for their crimes with their lives. The powder will make us all equals. Those were her last words. The Legion has been brought to combat readiness. Commander Otten plans to punish the criminal's entire home district, but the nobles of Anazad are nervous. No military training, no armor can protect them from a sudden gunpowder explosion. The city remembers that you were the one who made gunpowder available for silver mining. But now barrels of gunpowder are somehow being delivered to rebels rather than the mines. Never before have the Lowborn had such a dangerous weapon at their disposal. Hey, we got justice back. At least we got that. You walk down the cold steps to the prefecture dungeon. The damp air makes it hard to breathe. You were urgently summoned here after the explosion at the Three Fileras. The gendarmes have captured the perpetrator, a lowborn girl. Some people are here from the Secret Chancellery. Their institution handles riots and crimes against imperial authority. The worst of it is that the gunpowder is involved, and you were the one who succumbed to Mayor Egmont's entreaties and authorized the use of gunpowder in the silver mines. You need to get to the bottom of this before the Secret Chancellery comes after you. Behind the bars of the cell, you see Alita Siren, an unremarkable girl just like any other from the Brass District. She glances up at you suspiciously from under her long bangs and chuckles. Yeah, I blew him up. I'm not gonna deny it, let alone beg for mercy. I know nobles haven't gotten any anyway. My sister taught me that when she was hanged for making a peaceful speech in the capital. You send the gendarmes away. You need to interrogate the culprit one-on-one. Having made sure you are alone, you ask Alita where she got the gunpowder. She smirks, looking at you defiantly. This is just the beginning. We're the last straw. We're going to destroy the old order and reduce it to nothing. We've got weapons. We've got gunpowder. We aren't helpless anymore. You are interrupted by loud footsteps down the hall, accompanied by angry shouts. You have to hold your tongue. The gendarme push another prisoner into the adjacent cell. Your heart skips a beat when you recognize him. Do you know who I am? I own half the mines in Mahagra. Judge Brante, your gendarme dragged me here by force. Why didn't you just summon me? I would have come of my own free will. The gendarmes unceremoniously lock the industrialist in the cell and report to you. This commoner is suspected of transferring gunpowder to the rebels. You once again command the gendarmes to leave you alone with conspirators. They lock the cells securely before leaving. You, Egmont, and the rebel Alita are alone in the cold semi-darkness. Egmont clutches the bars anxiously. Now I see. I'm accused of orchestrating the explosion at the Three Fileras. Come closer, Brante. Your life in as much peril as mine. You take a step forward, approaching the bars. You feel the imprisoned industrialist's heavy breath on your face. I'll cut right to the chase, Brante. Yes, with your help, we put the gunpowder to good use. We use it for a great cause, fighting for the rights of the lowborn. I armed the soldiers of the last straw, and I'm forming my own militia. The gunpowder finally forced the nobles to take us seriously. But I'm not a madman, and I'm not a butcher. The explosion in the tavern was just a way to demonstrate what we're capable of in case the Empire doesn't make any concessions. We're no longer rabble that can be ordered about, and we achieved that in no small part thanks to your help, Judge Brante. Now the nobles will see that if they don't give us rights, we'll have to take them by force. You look at the wealthy commoner in consternation. So you have unwittingly become part of his conspiracy. Yes, I concealed some parts of my plan from you, but it was even safer for you this way. You continued your work as a judge and your fight for justice while we did our part. I just wish the last straw had worked a little more cleanly. You demand that Egmont tells you the nature of his connection to the last straw. We made an alliance. The last straw are relentless fighters, like this young lady here. And it's wonderful that there are people who are willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. Sadly, sometimes they leave too many clues behind. Our cause is just... Egmont casts a disapproving sidelong glance at the rebel girl. Then he leans in even closer and continues quietly. But explosions and bloodshed aren't my goal. I'm going to make Anazad the first city in the Empire where all citizens have equal rights, no matter what estate they're born to or what lot they have. Isn't that what you've been struggling to achieve all along, Brante? Do you think this is just some fantasy? We are one step away from taking power in the city and imposing our conditions on the Overseer and the Archduke. Time is running out. Soon the secret chancellery will take us, and then our cause is doomed. Unfortunately, you'll go down with us, my friend. We're in this together since you gave us the gunpowder. Let's not let that happen. Not now. Not when we're so close to sparking a genuine uprising. You don't betray your emotions to Egmont. Your face is thoroughly concealed by the shadows. Let us both out of the cage, me and the girl from the last straw. Help us escape? I'll make sure you're clear of any suspicion. It'll seem like we broke out on our own. The secret chancellery will be hunting us down and they'll leave you alone. Meanwhile, we'll finish our preparations and strike first. You've already picked a side, Roman Brante. No, I want to do this one. You've already picked a side, Roman Brante. Now's not the time to change it. Help me escape and you'll be one of the heroes of the uprising. But if you betray me, you'll be one of its first victims. I just needed willpower. But everything that happened to the family... Oh well. This is a great game, by the way. You guys, I am loving every bit of this. I am so emotionally invested in this game. While this has been a very rough set of 3 episodes where everything fell apart, I still love this game. Finally, you let Egmont see your face in the semi-darkness. You have had a sneer on your lips for quite some time. No, you are not going to go down because of Egmont's deception. You have your own plans in that regard. It's too late. You can't stop it, Brante. You fool. The uprising will make mincemeat of you if you don't come to your senses. History will be on our side. Not listening to him, you turn around and swiftly go upstairs. Egmont's threats die out in the darkness. Doing your best to look composed, you walk up the stairs and announce that the interrogation is over. It is time to hand the prisoners over to the secret chancellery. Afterwards, you lock yourself in your office and go through all your papers in search of any evidence that could link you to Egmont. You burn all proof of your involvement in the unfortunate gunpowder affair. But this isn't all. You will have to go to other imperial institutions as well. Hopefully your connections will be enough to sever any threads leading back to you. You hear a knock at the door. A familiar figure with a cane treads heavily into your office. Philippe Alfaro, the secret chancellery advisor, carefully examines you. You again, Sir Brante. I've just interrogated the captured insurgents. You break into a cold sweat and do your best to maintain a calm facade. Alfaro looms over your desk, obstructing the light. So, there is no doubt that the explosion was the handiwork of not only the last straw, but also of Mayor Egmont, whom you know well. I was particularly curious to find out who was responsible for authorizing the use of gunpowder in his mines. He named you. The advisor pauses and observes you. You look back at Sir Philippe dispassionately. The storm that is raging inside you must be contained. Suddenly, Philippe beams at you and shrugs. But you know, I'd never take a commoner's word over that of a nobleman. And you are a true nobleman, aren't you, Brante? You lower your head modestly. So I thought. The noble lot is not an easy one. Even the best of us make mistakes sometimes. But this is where noble education comes into play. We nobles know how to fix our mistakes. You explained gravely that you had no idea that allowing the use of gunpowder in the mines would lead to this. You only wanted to ensure the prosperity of the province. I have no doubt about that. That's why you're going to do me a favor, for the sake of the province. Over the last few years, you've worked hard to satisfy the claims and pleas of the commoners, but do you know how many insurgents could have been among them? The secret chancellery will review these cases. I hope you do not mind if I take over your office for a while. You won't need it for the time being. By my authority, I hereby declare a state of emergency in the prefecture. I will remain in effect until we have dealt with the threat of an uprising. You may go now. Take a break, and don't get involved. We'll call for you when we need you again. Alfaro installs himself in your chair and promptly begins going through your papers. He's no longer paying attention to you. You have no choice. You vacate your own office. Back home, you collapse into bed and sleep for a long time. Mayor Eggman is hanged before a huge crowd. The execution of a prominent advocate for commoners' rights infuriates them, but they are too frightened to take up arms. In addition, many say that Eggman only desired more power and profit for himself, not protection of the poor. Eggman's body is left hanging in the square in front of the city hall for a long time as a reminder of the fate awaiting anyone who attempts to defy the imperial order. You spend the next month at home. The explosion allowed the secret chancellery to obtain special authority for the purpose of defeating the rebels. The gates of Anazat are locked. Citizens are commanded not to leave their homes without a good reason. The gendarmes, transferred temporarily under the command of the secret chancellery, prowl the city, searching houses and arresting suspicious individuals. The people they arrest usually disappear without a trace. Finally, a month later, the secret chancellery declares that the threat of rebellion has been eliminated. The gendarmes return to Elborn's command. For the first time in a long while, you go to the prefecture. Your office has hardly changed, although it is clear that it has been used daily. The inkwell is all but empty. A number of documents concerning your old cases have vanished from the drawers. You see small spots of dried blood on the carpet. The carriage takes you further down the city's narrow streets. They are filled with noble carriages and commoners hurrying about their business, but the driver skillfully avoids them all. You watch the city uneasily from behind the carriage doors. The past few months have been so tense and challenging they felt like a single unbearable moment. You had to face one ordeal after another, and Otten's case sometimes fell by the wayside. You have no doubt that the outcome of the case will determine your fate. Your previous encounters with the haughty commander have assured you of that. The time to strike Otten is coming soon. Your gut tells you that time is running out. Either you seize the initiative or Otten will destroy you himself. But what should you focus on at this critical juncture? You consider your options. You rub your hands together in satisfaction. Soon, very soon, Otten will be the only one unaware of his inevitable downfall. You tell the driver to take you home. You'll take this time to rest up and regain your strength before the most trying challenge of your life. You stand at the window of your office and watch the living streets below exhausted. For over a year, Anazat has been steadily simmering with unrest, like a soup pot over a well-stoked flame. The endless feud between the Archduke and the Overseer, the first trials against nobles, insurgencies flaring up all across the Empire. Grim, heavy, dark red storm clouds now hang in the sky above Anazat. Preachers of the new faith fill the streets, urging the people to reject the lots. The abbot of the temple at the Silver Tree, Father Leonard, has turned the city's most ancient church into a new believer stronghold. Commoners flock to the squares in droves. The mobs grow bolder and bolder as they demand new freedoms and protection under the law. Commoners have begun forming armed militias. The last straw insurgents commit brazen acts, hoping to overthrow the authorities. The nobles of the sword demand that every mob be dispersed by force. They are ready to fight for their ancient privileges sword in hand. You cast a glance back at your desk, still covered with piles of paperwork for Otten's case. You've been working on it for over 2 years now. This case will have to reach a conclusion someday. But when? Will you be able to free yourself from the mortal peril into which it has drawn you? Your thoughts are interrupted by heavy footsteps and clacking hooves. The square in front of the prefecture quickly clears as workers and merchants do their best to flee. A legion battalion is advancing on the prefecture. It is led by Dorius Otten, on horseback and in full armor. He rides right up to the steps. The square resounds with his commanding voice. I am Dorius Otten, High Commander of this province, and I have come to demand justice. I have proof that a judge named Roman Brante has been collecting slander for years, seeking to tarnish the Otten name. I have already warned this judge, and I will not stand idly by in the face of an insult. To accuse me is to undermine the rule of the Archnians, our noble traditions, and the sacred order of the Empire itself. I demand that a stop be put to this campaign of defamation. I expect Judge Brante to burn his so-called case right now. Until that happens, my battalion is under threats to treat all those who serve at the prefecture as traitors to the crown. No one will leave this building until I see these vile accusations against an Arachnean burned to ash. Elborn comes rushing into your office. He's pale as a ghost, but trying his hardest to remain composed. Roman, Otten caught us off guard. I knew we should have begun his trial much sooner. He has the upper hand now. No one will come to our aid. We must give Otten our reply. It's all up to you now, Sir Brante. This is it, the moment of truth. How will you respond to Otten's ultimatum? Wait, I thought we just had to be, This one says justice has to be 8 or 9. And we've got Protector of the People. That was one of the options we had, right? Maybe this isn't it yet? Without saying a word, you stare out the window again. The sky is dark and overcast, thunder echoing in the distance. The Legion soldier stands still, awaiting new orders. Otten's horse is right by the stairs as he awaits your reply. The passive... Oh, wait. Yeah, we already did this one. And without a choice to be made. You stare out the window helplessly. All those years of service as a judge spent trying to achieve balance, siding with the common estate while avoiding the ire of the mighty, gathering influence and climbing higher while doing your duty as a judge. You've been buffeted by the twists of fate, by schemes and plots, and you have failed to maintain that fragile balance. You have failed to protect justice in your home province. The common people are so desperate they are ready to take their rights by force. But the law is too weak to govern commoners, nobles, and the Arachneans alike. You will never be able to convict Otten, no matter how many crimes he's committed. The grip of tradition is too strong. The Arachneans are and will remain immune to the rule of law. On the other hand, you have also failed to garner enough influence and establish enough connections within the aristocracy. You have not earned their respect or curried their favor. Without powerful patrons, Otten, your sworn enemy, cannot be defeated. There's only one thing left to do. Acquiesce to Otten's demand. Your hands shake as you collect all the papers on Otten's case in your office. You walk down the stairs to the door of the prefecture. Otten meets you face to face. He dismounts his horse, but clad in a full suit of ancient armor, the Arachnean is still a head taller than you. There you are at last, Brante. I expect nothing less. You humans are predictably apt at finding your proper place soon enough. Now destroy those despicable scribbles. A Legion soldier hands you a burning torch. Humble and obedient, you bring the fire closer to the paper containing Otten's case. All the evidence you have, all your statements, it all burns away in an instant. The wind lifts the ashes and scatters them across the square. That is what you should have done the moment your upstart of a prefect instructed you to undertake this so-called case. Still, my mercy is known far and wide. Confess your lies and slander to the entire city and you will be forgiven. Your stomach roils. It is hard to breathe. It takes all the effort you can muster to take a breath. And then you do as he asks. You submit to the highborn Arachnean's truth. You gathered slanderous rumors, a task beneath a true noble's honor. Did everyone hear that? That's enough, Brante. You're free to go. Return to your cases of petty theft and stolen trinkets, and do not meddle in the affairs of your betters. Otten springs back into the saddle and commands the battalion to return to the barracks. You remain in the square, unmoving, your spirit broken. From behind you, Elborn's hand comes to rest on your shoulder. Roman, you did all you could. It pains me to say it, but we cannot bring Otten to justice or make all the estates equal under the law. We must accept this defeat. We weren't ready. I'm so sorry for getting you involved in this hopeless case. I wanted to change the Empire, but instead I doomed you to humiliation. I fear Otten's case was our last and only chance to avert a riot in Anazat. Soon the humans' patience will run out, and they will explode in defiance of this lawless tyranny. And no one will be able to prevent the fire and blood. You may go, Brante. Brace yourself for the tough times ahead. Take care. Elborn embraces you like a father and drags himself back to his office. You watch him leave, a lonely, bent old man. The sky over Anazat splits apart, showering the dust-covered streets with long-awaited rain. Tonight is gray, miserable, and gloomy. You walk down the steps of the prefecture dragging your feet to your carriage. Now that Otten's case has met an ignoble end, your sense of duty seems to be the only thing keeping you at the office. Cases, complaints, petitions, it's all a blur. Another day has ended. Anazat is growing more restless by the day. The commoners cannot endure the tyranny and humiliation of the nobles any longer. More and more of them are refusing to obey, taking up arms and gathering in the squares. The noble militia of Anazat is making preparations to suppress the riots. The new believers are marching through the city. The last straw insurgents continue to incite unrest, striking again and again. It pains you to think that you could have made a difference, if only you had not lost against Otten. A voice you do not recognize calls out to you. As you turn around to look, something heavy hits you in the head. The world grows dark before your eyes. Another blow lands, this time in your stomach. You fall to the ground, gasping for air, as pain and nausea crumble your body into a tight ball. Your ears are ringing so loudly you can barely hear the voices above you, but you still recognize your assailants as Legion officers. They bind your wrists and ankles and put a sack over your head. A carriage arrives. They drag you inside and shove you into the seat. You are alone with the squeaky wheels and the clacking of hooves. You hear the city gate opening. They're taking you out of the city. They drag you out of the carriage and remove the sack. You find yourself on waste ground outside the city limits, lit by the torches and surrounded by silhouettes. You recognize a number of aristocrats. Magistrate Remiel Vermin is here, as is Friedrich L. Liberius, head of the noble militia. So many people you have angered. But the biggest silhouette of them all belongs to Dorius Otten, who stands right before you. How was the trip, Sir Roman Brante? I took the liberty of sending my personal carriage to pick you up. I didn't want you to miss our appointment. Otten leans down to you and looks you in the eye. I remember you as a young boy. I remember how insolent you were even back then. I knew we'd fight one another eventually. Well, the time has come. Surely you didn't expect me to forgive your insult just like that, did you? You renounced your case, yes, but my honor as an Archnean demands satisfaction. You have done more than merely insult my bloodline. You have questioned the power of those who rule this world. You are all alone. No one will protect you. You knew what you were doing, Brante, and you're going to pay. I challenge you to a duel. The Court of Honor hereby accepts the challenge. Sir Otten may rightfully defend his honor in a duel to the true death. Both parties shall fight blindfolded. Otten takes off his jacket and draws his sword. He has clearly done this many times before. A blindfold is placed over his eyes. Your head is covered by the same sack, this time knotted tightly around your neck. Dorius of the Otten dynasty and Roman of the Brante bloodline will now cross swords in mortal combat. I summon their ancestors to bear witness to their duel. May their blood tides meet in sacred battle and determine the truth. May the younger witness our trial and behold the power of his inevitable law. A hand shoves a sword into yours. You can barely breathe through the thick sackcloth. Your hands are shaking, unwilling to fight. You probe the darkness with the tip of your blade, unsure of where to strike. Let the battle begin. Your arms grow tired. The sword feels incredibly heavy and unwieldy. You fall silent, trying to hear your enemy moving. Something rustles ahead, and you step back as soon as you hear it, holding the blade in front of you. Still trying to run from me, eh, Brante? I'm afraid it's too late for that. You swing at the voice, but your blade slices nothing but air. You take a quick hop backwards. Your head shrinks into your shoulders. You cannot allow yourself to breathe, waiting for another strike. Don't listen to him. Surprised by the voice, you take a deep breath. The steel band you had felt around your chest is suddenly shattered. You cannot possibly defeat him, but you can accept your death with dignity. Prove you're worthy of the Brante name. You square your shoulders, the rope around your neck bothers you no longer. You still cannot see a thing, but you have no need for sight now. Keep your feet steady. Get your sword up. I'm here with you. A step, a swing, a jab. You know where to strike. Your blade sinks into flesh. Pathetic human runt. That's it. I'm done playing with you. Something slices through the air. You deflect it. Again. Once more. You are not in command of the blade. The blade commands you. You feel the blade swing in front of your face. You move to parry it, but your sword meets nothing. And then his sword stabs you straight in the heart. You take a few slow steps back. The darkness in your eyes gives way to light. A light brighter than anything you have ever seen. You keep the sword in your hand until the very last moment. You die on your feet. All is well, Roman. Come to me.
Neither side could overcome the other. The fire of the revolt could not be extinguished. The province, and then the whole empire, fell on troubled times.
For years after your death, Anazat continued to simmer like a cookpot over a slow flame. The powerlessness of the simple folk, unable to change the old order, gradually gave way to rage. Finally, this anger became stronger than their age-old submission to the higher estate and their fear of divine retribution. The rage was the spark that lit the fire of the revolt. The rebels took up arms and seized the city for themselves, led from the shadows by the last straw. When the moment of truth came, there was no soul in Anazat strong-willed enough to spearhead the raging revolt. The opposing factions soon reached a stalemate in which neither side could prevail completely. Anazat refused to surrender, but after a prolonged siege, Gaius Tempest finally broke the city's defenses, and the legion entered the rebellious city of Anazat. The insurgents fled, the mobs disappeared from the squares and the streets, the leaders of the revolt were hanged. But the cities captured made even more trouble for the overseer. The unrest was beaten down but not suppressed completely. New riots followed, one by one, as the common folk, the new faith priests, and many nobles of the mantle continued to wage a desperate struggle against the old authorities. Gaius Tempest responded to the seething rebellion with more executions and threats, but dissent continued to grow. As the unrest in the city smoldered, the rest of the empire eventually caught wind of the Anazat rebellion. Nearby Mogren towns and villages saw their first riots soon after. Chaos began to spread across the empire. The empire responded to this enduring turmoil with ruthless action, but even after several villages and towns were drowned in blood, the riots only intensified. The dominance of the emperor and his dynasty began to wane. Power struggles broke out between the powerful nobles in the capital. Then a shocking event shook the empire to its core. Emperor Uther II was found dead in his palace, never to be reborn. His heirs, Jarian and Flavius, both disappeared without a trace. With no one to take the throne, the noble dynasties accused one another of plotting against the Tempest rule. Feuds and internecine strife became commonplace. And so began an age of anarchy, a time of massacre and riots, conflict and bloodshed, chaos and unrest. There was no winner in this war of all against all, only survivors. The empire entered a dark and terrible age. You have made your last and most important choice. Was your death worth it? Could you have chosen a different path? Either way, there's no going back. Your fate is sealed. There is no returning from the hereafter. And so you bid farewell to your mortal life, everything you fought for, everything you strove for, All that is behind you now. You are on your way to the Shining Pillar to await the judgment of the twins. You can no longer change the world's destiny, but the choices you made and the deeds you did have left an indelible mark. The world will remember the life and suffering of Roman Brante. The hour of your death has come. Your soul has left your body, never to return. You are taken to the peak of the Shining Pillar. Every moment separates you more and more from the mortal realm. The link that once bound you to it is gone forever. You look up to see two divine visages watching you intently. The elder twin gazes upon you, full of sorrow and compassion. The younger examines you dispassionately, seeing your every act and thought. You have ascended from the mortal realm. From here, you are but one step away from partaking in eternal bliss atop the peak of the Shining Pillar. But first, you must be judged by them, just as every other soul born in this world has been judged since time immemorial. Only their judgment can decide whether you deserve to atop the peak or be hurled down to the foot. You stand before the twins, your very essence is laid bare before them, all the secrets of your inner self revealed in full. Your life is like an open book to them, one that preserves the story of your entire life. You lie prostrate before the gods. The time has come to take responsibility for your mortal life. And the elder twin asks, are you thankful to the gods for the life you are lived? I was happy. No matter what, I had a life I lived. I had choices. And while I did not have the foresight to see how I could have made them better, it was my life and I was happy to live it. I loved my family. I truly did. Even if I couldn't keep us from falling apart. Even Stefan. As boorish as he was my brother. I'm thankful for the life I got to lead. I welcome judgment, whatever it may be. They hear your answer. Compassion and remorse fill the immeasurably deep eyes of the elder twin. He turns to face his divine brother, who returns his gaze with an expression of stern remorse. The elder twin asks you once more, what was your life? Your life was dedicated to the people around me and the relationships I had with them. That wasn't quite it. My life was a struggle for my beliefs. The elder twin bows his head wearily, considering your response, but the stern visage of the younger already looms above you. Human, by the name of Brante, what did you live for? I yearned to do a great deed that would outlive me, to make other people's lives better, to give freedom, to have people live by their beliefs, to try and find and understand faith, to live with happiness, to gain power to be able to bring this. And I yearned to do a great deed that would have outlived me. The younger's gaze lingers on your bare, defenseless soul. The divine figure continues its stern interrogation. What did you leave behind? In the end, we tried to do so much. We tried to leave a doctrine behind. And we did for a while. But that justice is gone in the chaos and lawlessness. In the end, after we were gone, I don't think we really did much. I left no mark in the mortal realm. A broken family. The younger twin now moves toward you with clear intent, poised to render his judgment, but the elder twin restrains his brother with a gesture. Did your life make the world we made better and more perfect? I don't know. All the choices that I could have made, I don't know if I made the world better or worse. That is not my place to judge. The younger twin is silent, his eyes two swords piercing your soul. The elder twin speaks to you again, but you already know the question, the very same question that caused you so much suffering shortly before your true and final death. What determined your destiny? My life was always mine to live. I made my own destiny. You created the world and allowed me to live in it. Allowed me to have free will. The twin gods exchange a glance that lasts a brief moment and all eternity. Then the hand of the elder twin reaches out to you, glowing with light and warmth. The gods offer you an unprecedented opportunity to change your destiny, to rewrite the book of your life. Would you like to take a different path in life? What? What? Is this like a save state thing? I don't know what to say. Do I want... Will this just kick me back in as a baby? No, I think... I want to keep playing this game on YouTube, but this was our Brante story. My life is over. What happened happened, and I will face the hereafter. You reject the hand of the elder. The immense divine silhouette withdraws in sorrow. The younger twin steps forward, leaving you to face his law alone. The twin's judgment is nearing its end. The soul of a man named Brante lies prostrate at your feet. You have witnessed his entire life, known his every act, and seen his every thought and desire. No other soul could ever walk the same path. So many difficult choices, so many emotions, so much pain. Another soul awaits your judgment. You know no mercy, nor does your brother. Every mortal must walk the path chosen for him to the very end. Those who abide by the precepts set forth by you and your brother shall return to you and become a part of you. Those who reject you shall know the eternal suffering of oblivion. Where does the man named Roman Brante belong? He tried to do good. His lot was what he wanted to be. He could have had any of the choices, and he chose the noble lot. One that tried to defend people, bring justice. He did the best he could. You gingerly grasp the fragile soul, lift it up, and turn to face your elder brother. You lift your sword. Your brother stands with arms akimbo, ready for the blow. The blade slices through his chest. Blinding light gushes from the gash. You bring the minuscule soul to your brother's chest and it dissolves in the streams of shimmering luminescence. A tiny fragment of your shard creation has rejoined the whole. The man named Brante is no more. There is only the eternal fount in which he now abides. And that is the end of the life and suffering of Sir Brante. Or at least, the life and suffering of this Sir Brante. Thank you all so much for joining me and everything about it. I wanted to make sure that it was going into an end credit sequence, and it did. Unfortunately, during the last few parts of this game, I technically had no choices on the outside. This was such a good game. I really did like it. I hope you guys all enjoyed seeing it as well. Like I said, this is the shorter one. This is the end of the life before I could even get to see the rebellion. But thank you all so much for watching. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and thank you all so much for watching. Have a good night.